So, what I'm ultimately trying to show here in this particular video, I just want to start by saying that first off, you'll see two things in this issue. You're gonna see Cerebus's nuts, and you're gonna answer the question of what makes an aardvark laugh. Secondly, I just want to say, disclaimery wise, Dave Sim, who created this comic book, I think for the most part, given that I could suggest, people go seek Cerebus out on the internet and buy the 6,000 plus page book, I would certainly do that. But this is more to show and celebrate the significance of Cerebus in comics. He came to our city in the early dawn. And though later he would be called the finest warrior to enter the gates, at that time he was a curiosity. You see, he stood only 5 hands high, had a lengthy snout, a long tail, and was covered in short gray fur. In short, he was Cerebus, the aardvark. Now, like I said, this was a story started in 1977 by Dave Sim, who had been doing illustration work, and the story of Cerebus, I'm not going to get into much, but it's a character that he developed, and this is his baby, and he solo put it out, incredibly, for 300 issues. Anyway, like most of us, his first stop, the tavern. A tavern where a man or aardvark is measured by his ability to reach the bar unscathed. Look at that panel real quick. I mean, just the cross-hatching and the use of shadow. I mean, Dave pioneered that idea of light and shadows and stuff in this black and white. God. It was Tekot Dahl who decided to begin Cerebus' education in manners. Look at that. Needless to say, the remainder of the aardvark's journey was uneventful. I can't serve you here. You're, a guest? Yeah, I always serve guests at their tables. I admire your cowardice, obese one. As Cerebus makes his way to a vacant table, a whispered invitation from a shadowed alcove catches his attention. There followed several moments of tense negotiation before the trio rose. I just want to point out that Cerebus, he doesn't say much. But I'll bet in that negotiation he probably just said, aye. And I also want to point out Cerebus' sword, his little 3-circled breastplate, and his helmet, his horned helmet on the floor there. Original garb of Cerebus. But I mean, about the art, about the artist, I mean, look at that shot. What you see up there with the buildings, the parts that are facing the light source are detailed out a bit, and the rest of it's in silhouette. I mean, that's amazing. And entered the darkened streets of the city. There was much to do before dawn. I mean, so you're dealing with an illustrator trying to do this book. I mean, the detail on the leaves and everything, like, just, this book is awesome. This is a 20-year-old's first book out. I mean, it's his baby. And he's putting a lot of detail and care into it. Well, we're fortunate to get far without the wizard being aware of our presence. With Moonrise's powers halved. And then we shall assault the main tower in search of the flame jewel. Now, it's the flame jewel you seek, yeah? Aye, it's flawless, and said to be worth the king's ransom. We hide ourselves here another hour, and nay, nay, lurking in the bushes is not for an earth pig born. If Cerebus dies today, let him die with his sword and his tail held high. Look at that shot. There's no chance to call back the impetuous Aardvark, so the thieves dash after him as they nervously watch the shifting shadows. As well they might, for nearby several shadows grow and merge. By Clovis' beard! Cerebus' sword swung across and slashed the line of light through the shadow beast. Stunned, it lurched forward. And again the sword cuts deep. Earth Pig steel sought shadowy beast vitals as Cerebus sidestepped the attack. Each strike was measured and artful, and still the shadowy beast lumbered forward. The deadly dance continues until at last Cerebus stumbles. There was time for a final stroke before the shadowy beast lunged forward and died, becoming in the process just another shadow. We've chosen our warrior well, brother. He seems totally without fear of sorcery or anything else. Are you injured, my friend? Perhaps we should wait here until... Cerebus will survive. The wizard awaits us, though, and our only hope is to attack him before he attacks us. I mean, look at this. Aping Jean Day right here. Invaders in the foyer. Oh, is there no end to these thieves and madmen? I have to blast them with an energy incantation. I'm sorry, man. This guy's hilarious. Amagra taxaterim sara. Terim. My aim's getting lousy, too. They passed through seemingly endless stone corridors in search of the wizard and his flame jewel. I like this not one bit. I fear, Cerebus, these skeletons were a bad omen. Bad omen, eh? Bones found stripped of flesh are always a bad omen for their former owners. They are long dead, and we are as yet alive. Don't concern yourselves with old bones. Cerebus! Right across the mouth. The skeleton sorcery spawn speed was unmatched. The Aardvark realized they only hoped to stay out of range and wait for an opening. Get out as fast as you can. Keep in mind, I guess this might be the first appearance of the reverse snout punch. I don't know. I just want to point out that while Dave Sim used a lot of blacks in the background, it wasn't until later that Cerebus became actually known for its background art, skillfully done by the cohort, I'll say, Gerard. The heavy blade sliced the gloomy air and crashed against the Aardvark's blade as Cerebus backed up the shadowed stairs. Like a blinding flame, the steel flickered and slashed in front of him. His eyes intent, Cerebus watched each subtle motion of the blade and met each time with his own. He must attack. Why doesn't he attack like the others did? This guy's funny. Inch by agonizing inch was surrendered as beads of sweat stood out on the earth pig's forehead. Before him loomed the undead form. His eyes blazed coldly like twin fires in some hellish tomb. Oh yeah, like LT. Ugh. Inexplicably, the skeleton heaved for a split second. In that same instant, Cerebus leapt under the outstretched sword and threw both himself and that ensorcelled skeleton into the yawning blackness. As Cerebus rejoined his companions, the wizard contemplated a new strategy. Twice my sorcery has failed me. Damn it! Within the alcove, he slid his hand along the jutting stone until he heard a distinct click. Where sorcery has failed, mayhap botany will succeed. Huh? Flowers? What madness is this? If he seeks to stop Cerebus with whoa! Cerebus, ignorant of hallucinogens, was taken by surprise by the Nama lotus blossom. His thoughts were confused, and he strained to keep his balance. The aardvark struggled up from the mire that enfolded his mind. Every fiber of his being was applied to the task. If Cerebus is to be defeated, let it be by sword or necromancy, not by damn petunias. At last he felt the ground solid beneath his feet. Cerebus, let's leave this place. Aye. A shove propelled Cerebus's companions away from the influence of the lotus, and within moments sanity returns. And with sanity comes realization. No gem could be worth this madness, all this torture. Nay, you agreed to pay Cerebus a pouch of gold for the flame jewel, and the flame jewel you shall have, though the Grim Reaper himself bars my way. It's grown very quiet, my friend. You don't suppose the wizard is... Nah. It's but the calm before the storm. I've realized one thing in the last few minutes, anyway. We've been walking in circles since we left the foyer. If we can't find this wizard, we'll have to let him find us. And if that flight is any indication, I would guess he already is. Welcome, fools, to your doom. I would love to have this page of original art. Yeah, and forgive me, I have to read the character kind of like this. The tentacle snaked out incredibly fast, drawing the swirling smoke behind its wispy trails. Cerebus, attack this thing. Your friend cannot help you. None escape the monster from time's dawning. However, at that moment, his eyes closed. The aardvark was searching, hand and sword extended. A horrible fate awaits you, mortals. 1,000 deaths you will suffer. Submit to its embrace. None can escape the death grasp. What's this little guy doing? What's he up to? Then came the realization. If the dwarf couldn't see the conjured beast, it would be impossible to stop him. Cerebus focused on the rustling of the wizard's robes and the drone of his voice. There was no way the wizard could get past him. Halt! None may approach the dark majesty's person. Doom shall be yours if... A moment later, his finger brushed the wizard's trembling hand. Hark my words, for mine is the power of Ashim Sagatra. Mine is... nuts. The sword glittered briefly in the shadowed gloom. This is great. Sorcery upon sorcery. One moment, the beast is about to devour me. The next, it vanishes like the moaning frost. Aye, and here stands our warrior. By the look of that cloak, the wizard is quite dead and crumbled to dust. He was doubtless several centuries old. Taram's blood. That light. We have it. It's ours. The flame jewel. First, my friends, we have a little business to settle. The flame jewel was wrapped carefully in a piece of the wizard's cloak as they left the central chamber. You promised me a pouch of gold if I got you the jewel. Of course, but once we sell the jewel, you shall have 1,000, nay, 10,000 pouches of gold. The nearby statue became slowly less substantial as the wizard's sorcery slipped away like the sands in an hourglass. 1 pouch will suffice. Cha-ching! Gradually, the hall shimmered and faded round them like a bad dream, and they were outside in the pre-dawn air. All that remained was the surrounding garden and a few ornamental gates and walls. How did you come to know so much about the ways of these wizards? Cerebus has his feet in 2 worlds. Though I was born to be a warrior, the ways of sorcery are not unknown to me. But how did you defeat the wizard where others have failed? The wizard was oriented to animation and illusion spells, which are difficult to maintain. And the skeleton and the shadow beast, it was mostly a matter of staying out of reach until an opening came up. Oh, by the way, That isn't the jewel you've got. It's just a simple walnut. Oh, there's Cerebus's nuts. You risked your life for a pouch of gold? Yeah, the jewel was a product of the wizard's sorcery, not the source of it. When he died, it changed to its original form. So you have your flame jewel, and I have my pouch of gold. May not seem exactly fair, but Cerebus has no cause for complaint. It was this, the thieves would later say, the first time they heard an earth pig laugh. So there's your answer to what would make Cerebus laugh. Next issue, Captive in Borrelia. And then, of course, that was Cerebus #1. I thought I might have said something at the end here, but I don't know if I really want to. I think I just wanted to say, I mean, Dave Sim created an entire world, created an entire arc of a character, a complex character, with fantastic supporting guests that totally ripped off and ripped through Marvel and DC characters that make appearances throughout. The Rolling Stones, the Beatles, literary figures, F. Scott Fitzgerald. I can only think of Stephen Fry, but that's not it. It's I got his book right here. Oscar Wilde. Forgot Oscar Wilde. The main character in the beginning here is going to be Groucho Marx. Groucho Marx, is a character within this book. It's a really amazing book, and I just want to say that before it was fashionable, Dave Sim took a lot of heat and a lot of trash, and some might say self-imposed. I don't know. Some might say that he was an early lightning rod for this notion of a patriarchy, of male